Jon Gruden can save the Rams. They make this signing and they're in an NFC Championship game within 5 years, and I honestly believe that. And I know Gruden gets linked with basically any head coaching vacancy that ever opens up, considering he's one of the best head coaches of the last 15 years, and is the only one not already in a job or retired pretty much at this point, but I really think this is the one that makes the most sense. If I was making a video about what would the Rams look like under Pete Carroll, or is Jim Harbaugh a good fit for the Rams, I'd just be doing that to play to what the popular rhetoric in the media is right now. That's not the case. I really want this to happen. I wish Gruden would finally take one of these jobs he's constantly linked to. Honestly, the Rams hire Gruden and they are scary. Are you really going to let Jon Gruden take over another team with a top 10 defense and an offense with wildly better potential than his Buccaneers ever had? Jon Gruden is out of touch with coaching in the NFL. Yeah, the guy who does about as much research as any half-decent coordinator currently working in the NFL for his job with Monday Night Football wouldn't be able to handle the changes since he last coached. Gruden has never come across as if he's taken time off since he stopped coaching. Sure, he wouldn't have been looking in super depth at the teams he'd be coaching against, but neither has a guy like Jim Harbaugh since 2014. I mean, the guy still calls plays before they happen on Monday Night Football. He certainly doesn't strike me as too removed from the game to be able to come back. Jon Gruden proved in 2002 that he can take over a team with a good defense and a not so good offense and make them champions. Now granted, he inherited one heck of a defense from Tony Dungy with Hall of Famers at every level. Defensive tackle Warren Sapp is already in the Hall of Fame. Linebacker Derek Brooks is already in the Hall of Fame. Cornerback Rondé Barber I don't think is eligible until next year, but is a shoo-in with the NFL record for consecutive starts by a defensive back and being the only player in NFL history with over 25 sacks and 45 interceptions. And finally, safety John Lynch has been a Hall of Fame finalist before and will eventually end up there. The Rams defense isn't that good, but it's got more than just a couple of very good players. But Beardmohbox, the Rams offense is so bad and Jared Goff is a bust and Gurley can't run behind that terrible line anymore, they have no receivers. Fair point. Now let's take quick stock of Jon Gruden. Every head coach has a specialty. Bill Belichick's is defense, John Harbaugh's is special teams, Bruce Arians is an underrated quarterback guru and a wide receiver specialist, and Chip Kelly can ruin a roster in 1.5 seasons. So what is Jon Gruden most famous for over anything else? Oh yeah, developing quarterbacks. Gruden turned Rich Gannon from a journeyman who'd never thrown for more than 2,305 yards in a season after 11 years in the NFL into an immediate Pro Bowl quarterback who won NFL MVP the season after Gruden was traded from the Raiders. In 1999, his first season with Gruden, Gannon went to his first Pro Bowl at 35 years old, and in 2000 he was named first team All-Pro for the first time. Then in 2002, Brad Johnson went to his second ever Pro Bowl under Gruden and became possibly the most irrelevant quarterback outside of Trent Dilfer to ever win a Super Bowl. If Gruden is good at one thing, it's coaching quarterbacks, and what a better situation for him than the first overall pick with all the raw talent in the world in Jared Goff. Jon Gruden could turn Brock Osweiler into the most efficient quarterback in the NFL, and we'd all be extremely fortunate to get to see what he would do with Jared Goff. There is one wrinkle: the Rams wouldn't be the best fit for Gruden if Les Snead remains GM. The last thing Gruden needs is having a bad general manager bring him ridiculous draft classes. Rich McKay has a shot at the Hall of Fame as an executive, and Gruden was able to be successful in Tampa Bay because McKay built an extremely good roster. Les Snead is no Rich McKay. What's actually the Rams' problem? Because they have a lot of talent on their team. Some may say it's coaching, and I too say it's coaching. So what kind of coaching staff could we expect from Jon Gruden? Well, Gruden is quite the staff builder. Here's the list of assistant coaches under Gruden that went on to become NFL head coaches. Bill Callahan, Rod Marinelli, Raheem Morris, Mac Trestman, Jay Gruden, and Gus Bradley make up a pretty good group. Before Bradley worked under Jim Mora and then Pete Carroll in Seattle, he worked with Gruden. And finally, Jon Gruden's defensive back coach in 2002, Mike Tomlin, yeah, the same one from the Steelers, who is also the youngest head coach to win a Super Bowl in NFL history, that Mike Tomlin. Now, I'm not trying to claim these guys owe their success to learning under Gruden, but as far as Gruden's resume goes in respect to hiring some seriously talented assistant coaches, it looks pretty good. I'm also not claiming that he personally hired all these coaches himself. My point is the Rams are in desperate need of better coaching, and Jon Gruden has a record for having a staff stocked with some extremely good coaches. Everything about what the Rams have that is good and what they need to seriously improve makes me think Gruden is the ideal candidate. As for if he'll take the job, apparently Gruden's magic number is $8 million. He's the highest paid ESPN employee and has a nice job, but apparently $8 million is enough to get him working 16 hours a day again. That's tied for most among NFL head coaches, but it's also only $500,000 more than the Rams were paying Jeff Fisher and $1.5 million less than Jim Harbaugh makes at Michigan. This might just happen. As for other candidates, the defense is good, and I don't know whether the new coach would keep Greg Williams, but I think the Rams head coach needs to be an offensive guy. Sean Payton I still think is crazy talk, and the Rams don't even have anything left to offer in a trade after last year. Josh McDaniels could make sense, but what I heard was that he'd consider the right scenario, aka a team with an actually decent offense and a quarterback, as opposed to the mess he found himself in Denver. And although the Rams kind of match the description, I don't know if that's what he meant. Then again, Lane Kiffin took the FAU job, so what the heck do I know? What I do know is that it'd be a mistake if the Rams hired another defensive guy. That side of the ball is set. Hire a guy that can look after the other side, which has been neglected for years, and who can nurture Jared Goff. You know, hire John Gruden.